There are new federal deficit numbers out. They were released this week, and yes, they are staggering. In 2009 alone, this year, the Congressional Budget Office put the federal deficit at $1.58 trillion. The Obama administration came in even higher on their estimates and issued a forecast for the next 10 years you may not like. Joe Krier is president of Krier Wealth Management, here to break it down for us. Good morning to you.
Hi, Stacy.
That's a pretty staggering figure there, Joe, and you consider that compared to the previous budget buster deficit. And what are the numbers here?
Well, the previous highest one was $455 billion, and that was last year. And they were saying that was outrageous because the previous high before that was about $280 billion. So, you know, think of this: a deficit is like in your household budget, that would be your shortfall. And if your shortfall had quadrupled, quintupled, you know, gone up 8 times, I think you'd be a little bit nervous. Here we've got the U.S. in the hole by 1.58 trillion.
Just for this year? For
this year, and then the total accumulated debt is 11.7 trillion.
Okay, now the Obama figures came out, 2020 debt. And that is sky high as well.
Yeah, and they're looking for the deficit to add up to be another 9 trillion over the next 10 years. And it's good that we're getting these numbers out there because we do need them on the surface. That would be like you and I having just massive mortgages, you know, and when banks look at you and I, they look at our total income and our assets and then look at how much debt we want to take on. Well, the U.S. is getting in a situation where their debt is just so much larger than their assets that, you know, we could go upside down. A few weeks ago, you and I talked about the U.S. potentially losing its credit rating, and, you know, they're pushing it here.
Well, let's talk about America's banks, and those are other foreign countries, okay? Are they going to look at us and potentially say, we're not going to buy your bonds anymore?
Yeah, and is
that the worst case scenario?
That is, and it's a big discussion, you know, and one of the pieces that's keeping all this going is that the Chinese buy U.S. debt, but in essence what they're doing is keeping our economy going, so we turn around and go buy more Chinese goods. So we're so interdependent that if they could hurt us without hurting themselves, I think they would, but there's no way they can do that right now.
Let me ask you if those budget deficit forecasts are including the plans and the agenda that Mr. Obama wants to pass. Do they include universal health care and other programs?
They do not at this point.
Okay.
And what it does is it forces the issue so that if they want to pass something like health care, they're going to have to show how to pay for it before they pass the bill. And to me, that's the accountability that we need in the federal government. They need to pass a law that says there's no more spending unless we can show where the money's going to come from. All they have right now, by the way, is a cap on the total debt, which is 12.1 trillion, and it's kind of silly because all they'll do is get together on a Saturday and vote to raise the cap to 14 trillion.
Right. Let me ask you about President Obama reappointing Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke. This is a man who has been in that position for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I think it was a good move. You know, we didn't need sea change here, you know, and what you want is the guy who built the bomb to be the guy who's defusing the bomb, sort of, and he's out there. So, you know, we needed calm and we needed continuity here. Some felt that Obama might replace him with someone who might be able to pull their strings a little more, but Bernanke needed to do this, and we've got a couple of scenarios that could play out here, you know, between rising prices and a growing economy, which is the most desired outcome, to the flip side of that, which is deflation, a shrinking economy, and declining prices.
Yeah, and stagflation there.
Stagflation could happen, and we're seeing that a little bit now, by the way, with rising oil prices in the middle of a recession, and that's a scary thing.
Well, you always like to end on a good note, but I don't see one today.
Well, I think there is, you know, and the good news is that consumers are obviously responding to government programs, okay? Cash for clunkers, 700,000 cars, new home incentives. So the consumer is not dead, they're just playing their cards a little better, and I think that's a good thing.
All right, Joe Krier joining us this morning, president of Krier Wealth Management, weighing in on the budget deficit. Thanks so much.